Good morning and welcome to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter, the show that takes a look at the events and what's happening all around Putnam County, as well as interviews with local, community, and business leaders. And now, sharing his insights and experience, here's Today in Putnam County with County Mayor Randy Porter.
Thanks, Philip Gibbons. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're having a great weekend. This week's show, about the Cookeville Rescue Mission, a great nonprofit that we have here in Cookeville that's helped thousands of people over the years. They have a new leader, and he's my guest this morning, the new executive director, Mr. Will Roberts. Good morning, Will.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
I'm doing great. You and I have known each other for a while in a different realm, and now today here you are going to be a new director of the Cookeville Rescue Mission. Great institution, I'll call it. I think probably started back in the 70s.
They did, 76.
Has helped thousands of people in need and everything. And we were talking when he came up that the new director's position was coming open, and they were looking for folks. And I had a friend of mine call me and said, what do you think about Will for this job? And I said, I think he would be absolutely perfect. And, that started conversation, and we thought, well, maybe what's going to happen. And here today, you're the new director, and I have to say congratulations. I'm so proud of you and you being willing to take that, because that's a tough job, Will.
It's going to be a good job. The thing about it is everything that I've done in my life kind of brings me right to this point.
God had a plan, didn't he?
He really did.
Yeah.
It's been very, very interesting the way it's come together. I know a lot of people have kind of seen that happen, and must admit I didn't see it coming.
Well, and sometimes that's the best ones, though, isn't it? That,
so. Yeah.
God opens up that door all of a sudden, and
yes.
you just think, wow, how did this happen? And
comes out of nowhere.
He just needs us to step through it, though, doesn't he?
Absolutely. I did spend some time, on the board of directors.
Yeah, you did, yeah. So you know what you were getting into.
Well, I kind of do. When you walk into a situation like this, there's a lot going on, and just trying to get your feet under you initially has been a little bit of a lift. But I'm real grateful because we have a staff out there that is just wonderful.
Unbelievable.
People, yeah.
I think back on Larry Self, because everybody knows Larry Self, I think.
Larry Self himself.
Yes. Great pastor, preacher, Christian man, and started that back in 76. And, of course, I've known Larry most of the time that I've been here. Did a great job, but started that from nothing.
From nothing. Over here on Spring Street, he tells the story, a young man helped him carry a refrigerator up the stairs on Cedar Street.
Cedar Street, yeah.
And said the guy didn't have any place to stay that night, and they fed him some chicken, and the rest is history.
Rest is history. Yeah. And it's amazing at how it's grown with the facilities. And I was just reading recently where that partnered with, Community Cares of Cookeville or whatever to get folks in this past winter during.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a very benevolent organization. And Marsh Chapel was built in the 20s.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So 1920s, back in the 1920s.
1920s.
We are about 100 years old, a little over 100 years old with regard to, where we're at now. So that's pretty interesting.
So you've been on the board for a couple of years. You know what needs to be done. What's when you start thinking about your priorities of the new director and the things that you want to see accomplished, what comes to mind?
The main thing is we want to really foster unity in the community. Our goal is to work with all the available organizations to bring about true change in people's lives, positive change in their lives. And we have a wonderful program coming in up there that's going to be implemented a little bit at a time called Life Recovery. And it's out of the Life Recovery Bible, written by Stephen Arterburn was the editor to that thing. He's become a friend of mine. What we find is that all people have something going on.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not just people think we're dealing with drug addicts, and some of the people do have drug addiction problems, but there's a lot of different issues that we're dealing with.
Yeah, it come from all walks of life, don't they?
Absolutely.
Well, it's just while we're talking about that, one thing and maybe we had it years ago, but the homeless problem. So I come from a little small town, Macon County, lived on a big farm. If we had any homeless people, I didn't know it. We was raised up poor. Most of us were back then. Right. But it seems like in the last several years, that is either it was there and we weren't seeing it, or it's really become more prevalent. What's your take on that?
I think the homelessness is so prevalent now because there are so many options out there, and people don't know how to handle all that's coming at them. And a lot of people, even that have gifts and talents and so forth, are just lost in the craziness of the world. The world's gotten crazy. So I see people from all walks of life. This isn't just a place where sick and suffering people come. Some people have just had a bad experience or two with regard to their vocation or whatever they're going through. We've seen people from all walks of life come, lawyers, clergy, people that are struggling with life on life's terms. Right. I think that's the state of the world that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, it's got crazy head. And we're talking with Will Roberts this morning. He's the new executive director of the Cookeville Rescue Mission. And, Will, we had a program, and I guess this is kind of hard to understand for folks. We had a program that came through workforce development that to try to help some of the homelessness, money to buy them clothes and a place to live and get them training for a new job and everything. And so there was, I think, about 52 folks that workforce development reached out to try to help. And it was so discouraging because out of all those people, only one of them wanted to help. We found this lady that she was actually a truck driver, had her CDL truck driver's license, and just had hard luck and lost everything, and got her in and got her a job, and now she's back driving and everything. But do you understand why these folks, why a lot of them don't want help, that they're just happy to live like this?
If I can just get 100% real, I think that people have lost sight of faith.
Faith, yeah.
They've lost faith in our system. They've lost faith in our government. They've lost faith in how life has materialized into something that's all about materialistic stuff. That's the whole deal.
Yeah.
We all know that doesn't solve any problems, and it doesn't. It's never going to give us fulfillment. And I think that's what's being lost, is the deep faith that you and I share.
Yeah.
That God is really the answer.
He's number one.
He's number one, and we've somehow got to bring people back. So what we're implementing up there is a discipleship program.
Yeah.
That's what this is really all about. And when I say unity in the community, that's been a contentious thing. A lot of the treatment programs are competing with each other.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense,
It's
does
heartbreaking.
it? Yeah.
As you know, I've been in drug treatment and alcohol treatment and other types of treatment. I've been in ministry for many years. And what I'm finding is if we can pull together, we can get a whole lot more done together than we can pulling apart from each other.
We saw that. You served or went and served on the drug task force that I created with the new opioid money to get it out. And we saw all those organizations come together there. And we're a community of working together. You hit the nail on the head. We do everything, the city and the county, and all of us work great together, and elected officials and tech and the hospital, all these folks. But on something like that with these other organizations, you haven't seen that in the past. But that's one of your goals, is to bring it together, right?
It's my main goal. The whole thing is people live in a shortage mentality.
Yeah.
And when you think like that, you're going to live in shortage.
Yeah.
I think there's an abundance in God's world. And I believe that there's plenty of finance to go around. There's plenty of guests to come stay at your respective program to go around. There's plenty of problems to be solved. The deal is if we live in the mentality of abundance, God provides. All the money is out there. There isn't a shortage of money. There's just the wrong people got the money.
Just got to get it in the right places.
That's exactly right.
Rescue Mission and some of your thoughts about it, but I want you to talk about your life. It's a testimony in itself, and where you started out and all the issues that you had, and then to come out of those and to be what you are today. Take us back to the beginning and bring us up and give us your testimony.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I'll tell you, I was conceived in Alaska, born in Massachusetts, and raised in San Antonio, Texas.
Wow. Moved around a lot there, didn't you?
We moved about every time the rent came due, and I was blessed with a wonderful father who was a professional musician, and my mother was one of the most beautiful, interesting women that you ever met, just a wonderful heart. But our family was shot through with addiction, and my mother died of the disease of addiction at the age of 52 in 1982, and my dad lived on to be 87 years old and remarried and was with another woman for many many years. And he and I played music together from the time I was a little boy. I played professional music when I was about 10 years old. And
wow.
Played all my life. I grew up in an environment where there were a lot of really, really well-known musicians in our area. Back in the day, a lot of people would come to San Antonio to get their musicians and bring them up to Nashville.
Wow.
So I was raised with some big names in the music business and got to do that for a living, and it was a wonderful thing. But it was also an environment that was fraught with a lot of pitfalls.
Oh, yeah.
Alcoholism, drug addiction took a hold of me very early in my life, and I struggled in and out of jails and institutions and wound up being convicted of a felony when I was about 18, 19 years old, and then did a year in the prison system down in Texas, and then I did 4 years what they call on paper. During that period of time, I was kind of relegated to staying in San Antonio. Periodically got to travel some, but I was always very fortunate that I could muster all the help that was given to me and get better for a little while. After I got out of jail, I married the little girl down the street, and we had 2 kids back to back. And I wound up with one of the best. I always had one of the best jobs playing music anywhere around. And I wound up with a great job playing music. I wound up playing for John Hagee Ministries.
Oh, wow.
At Cornerstone Church. Then it was Church of Castle Hills. And he actually baptized me in the Jordan River in Israel in 1982.
That had to be an amazing event.
Oh, it was
just to be able to go there.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I tried desperately to get addiction under control. I tried to control my using.
Yeah.
And I would always go back and wound up in and out of recovery for about 11 years, from the age of 20 to the age of 31. When I moved to Tennessee, I moved up here in 1987, working with a major artist, and who's now in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I only say that not to put the focus on me, but to say God gave me a bunch of chances,
right?
Wonderful chances.
Right.
I was able to go to many different countries and play at a high level. Lost that job because of addiction.
Wow.
And wound up out here in Jackson County in a hovel, 1-room shack out here with no running water, no electricity. Couldn't buy a friend, couldn't keep my body clean. Just I had lost my hustle, and I wound up not being able to really get to the drugs that but I turned to alcohol and about drank myself to death. April 18th, 1989, I rolled off a dirty old cot onto my knees, and I asked God to help.
That was the breaking point, right?
It was amazing because he felt like he came across the universe to meet me, you know. But what I know now is I just turned around. He was standing right there.
Right there waiting on you.
Waiting on me, as he always had been. The long and the short of it was I got serious about recovery immediately. I stayed clean and sober through Alcoholics Anonymous. Then I was with a crew that brought Narcotics Anonymous here to Cookeville in 1990. So from 1989 to 90, I was in AA. And then in 1990, we got in Narcotics Anonymous, and I went to work out at Timbrook. Was Timbrook, but it was the Laurel Center.
Right, yeah.
Worked for them for about a year, and then I went to work with a group called Rebos, which was that's sober spelled backwards.
I never thought about that.
And we had a great recovering community. I became a unit coordinator with them. I had an office in Livingston and an office in Jamestown and one here. And then we sold to a company called the Wellness Center, and eventually the Wellness Center sold to Bradford, who's got their presence here now as a result of that. So I've always been in the drug treatment field, but I grew up also in the pest control business, and I started that business in 1995 here in earnest, and we got serious about building a company. And I was always been in the drug treatment field and different types of treatment.
Yeah.
My pastor, Bobby Davis, I don't know how well
great guy.
Yeah, he's
great guy.
Awesome. I will just say that he's always said this to me. For 30 plus years we've been friends, and he would see me out. He'd say, "Man, it's good to be in ministry with you, brother." And I would always say, "Man, you're in ministry. I'm just another bozo on the bus." You know. He convinced me to get ordained about 6 years ago. Since that happened, we've been on the road to building the programs that
you really changed things. So, I mean, well, to think about, you could have easily been dead right now.
Oh, many times over.
From all you went through. But God took care of you. And look what he's been able to do in your life. In turning, when you gave up and hit rock bottom and was willing to step out, look what he's done in your life. When I think of all the people, we're talking thousands of people over the last several years that you've been able to touch. And I've always said, it's hard to talk to someone about something unless you've experienced it yourself.
Yes, sir.
I've never experienced the things that you have, so I can go talk to these people all day long. I'm not going to reach them. Somebody that has been through it, though, and has experienced it, that's what it takes to touch these people and get through to them. And I just think with all you've been able to do, you're the perfect fit for the rescue mission, but you were the perfect fit. You and your wife started this Life Regeneration Ministries.
Correct.
We were talking the other day, and that has just been an unbelievable program for our community to be able to do that. So how did that get started? How did that all come about?
I appreciate that. LRM is a kind of a necessary thing. Okay, LRM really is a 501c3, and it's someplace where we felt like we had to start that because the community was not coming together very well with regard to working together to help.
Yeah.
And not pointing a finger at anybody, but I just saw a solution, a problem that needed a solution. And we started Life Recovery, which is a different organization, patterned after AA and NA, which really just takes the steps back to where they came from. They came out of the Bible.
Right.
And there was none of that around here much to speak of. We had Celebrate Recovery, one meeting a week, which is great. And Life Recovery is much like an AA meeting. We opened Disciple Central just recently, almost a year ago now, and we now have 35 meetings a week.
Wow.
Morning, noon, and night, and then men's meetings and women's meetings and a lot of other functions in there. And what Life Regeneration Ministries does is although it can't contribute financially to Life Recovery, it can send warm bodies to Life Recovery. And that's what we opened that for, was so that we can continuously feed the meetings. And the meetings have taken off. They do quite well. We're seeing thousands and thousands of people.
So with that, somebody's out there and they're listening to this show and they need help and they want to get involved with your LRM. How would they go about that, Will?
They can go to Life Recovery, the number 4 and the letter U.com. LifeRecovery4U.com. That'll get them to the meetings. Once they're at the meetings, I can give them all the information they need on LRM. LRM is a separate entity, and we're building treatment programs that will feed and foster the use of the Life Recovery program. So that's how they get in touch with it.
Good deal. This week's show, it's all about the Cookeville Rescue Mission. Great nonprofit we have here in Cookeville. Helped thousands of people, been around since back in the 1970s. Brother Larry Self started it, and it's been a great program. They have a new leader. His name is Mr. Will Roberts. I'm sure most of you are familiar with him. He's been here in Cookeville for several years. Has helped a lot of people with his agencies that he's run. He and his wife do Life Regeneration Ministries, have for a few years, trying to help the alcohol and drug addiction, which is a big problem in our society anymore, isn't it, Will?
It is. And, we are really a little more broadly explained by saying, everybody's got a problem.
Of some kind.
I cannot tell you the pastors that have come into our program and come to our meetings and said, hey, I'm here to help you with these people, Will. And after about 2 or 3 meetings, they go, wow, I am one of these people.
It's not necessarily about alcohol and drugs, is it? It's a lot of other stuff.
Correct, yeah. And so we're really grateful that we are truly a discipleship program. That's what our goal is to get people closer to Jesus Christ. That's what we're trying.
With you taking a new directorship, you got Life Regeneration Ministries out here. You got a great wife, okay? And God blessed you with a good spouse as He did me. She gonna be taking it over, and y'all are. Y'all may never see each other much.
That's right. That was a big question about divided loyalties. My wife is a retired lieutenant colonel out of the Army.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's beautiful. When you see her, she's stunning.
She is.
She's very, very smart, and she's also a retired surgical nurse. She was on the heart for a long time, and she's done everything from the brain to the toe as far as surgery goes. But she was also the administrator of some home health agencies for quite some time, had many hundreds of employees. So she's probably a whole lot more qualified than I am to do a lot of the stuff that she's doing. So she has taken the executive director's seat at LRM, at Life Regeneration Ministries, and when I took on the mission, we work in concert together. We're not people that take a lot of vacations. Our vacation is to see the light go on in somebody's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
We love that, and so our ministry is really predicated on us working together constantly, and I think the overall ministry is just reaching reaching out to people.
It is, and you brought it up early in the show. As a community, we do a pretty good job, and we don't take it for granted. I know the elected officials don't. There used to be a time when city and county didn't get along. The city came up with an idea, the county's automatically going to be against it because the city came up with it. We changed that, I know, when we came into office, and everybody gets along now. We work together good, but that's not always been the case with your organizations, right, like that deal with addiction and all those kind of things. But that's your goal, is to try to bring them together, right?
Yeah, I keep using the phrase unity in the community. I guess I've been watching Bobby Davis too long.
That sounds like a Bobby Davis phrase, doesn't it?
Frustrated rapper. Right? But the great thing about my position now is that I've got a pretty neutral position, so I can come. I have a point of privilege here.
Yeah.
And I can come in, and my goal is just foster a unified front so that everybody can start pulling together. There are new directors in a lot of the organizations going around. We're going to get more in 2024, as we've said before.
New faces.
Yeah, and so we're excited about the prospects of everybody just kind of seeing where we can actually work together rather than pull apart. It looks like we can do it too.
We can always do more together, can't we? Well, I mean, I've never understood about. I know when Mayor Shelton and I came in, the one thing is we wanted to do good things, and we didn't care who got the credit.
There you go.
And then if you get to that point,
amazing what you can do.
Maybe there was a president talked about that. I don't know, it was Reagan or somebody back years ago talked about if you don't care who gets the credit, you can do good things, and that's the goal. And I know that is yours too. And I just see amazing things happening. And we see on TV. I can't imagine our drug problem getting any better with all this fentanyl and everything that's coming across the border, and we're seeing it, and folks are what they think is a Xanax or a pain pill is laced with fentanyl, and we're getting drug overdoses and deaths, and I don't know what the answer is to that. Do you?
Well, and I want to go on record as saying, I was on the methadone program many, many years ago, and that was kind of a dead end for me.
Yeah.
They didn't have a plan to get me off of it, didn't have really much hope for the future. I needed something that was much more attractive than just the status quo.
Yeah.
I believe that we're living in a time where the battle lines are drawn now.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to choose a side. And that's everybody.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and I don't push that off on anybody. But I'm not proselytizing on the radio. I'm just saying that's how I feel. And so what we want to do is build a program that's so attractive that when people see it, they go, man, I want to be a part of that.
See, it is an attraction thing, though, isn't it? They can say, I don't want what I've got right now. I want this over here.
Have you ever noticed when somebody looks at me or you and they say, man, what you ought to do is, I don't do very well with that.
No, it doesn't work too well, does it?
But when somebody looks at me and says, man, let me tell you what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I can hear that.
Absolutely.
And the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. We can always do better, as you said earlier, by sharing our experience and our strength, and then our hope for the future.
Hey, that hope word. That's, I think there's a lot of people out there that have lost hope, not just in addiction, but in a lot of other ways too. And it makes you sad, doesn't it? Because if we don't have hope, we don't have anything, do we, Will?
No, we don't. And, we can do something about that.
We can.
Through our own personal experience, we can share, and you said it earlier, you can share with people what's happened to you.
Yeah.
They can absolutely glean something from that. And then once they see it working in your life, it becomes attractive, and you go, well, I want some of that. That's the great thing about my job. I haven't changed much of anything as to what I do day in and day out. I'm just in a different location. I'm working with a different set of people, and I've got more access to folks now, So I'm very blessed.
I think you believe like I do too. There has to be a transformation there with God the Father to got to have Him in your life. If you don't, I've talked to people that tried it on their own, and it rarely ever works.
No.
But I talked to people. Our pastor was on drugs when he's during his teens and youth, and he says until I was willing to come to God and give it up and let God take it.
Absolutely.
He said then that totally changed.
It opens
changed
up
his
all
life.
the power that is in the universe, the very power that spoke the universe into existence, wants to help us.
Amen. That's
what a
right.
blessing.
One thing with the rescue mission, and we got a minute or so left here, I've always thought it gets attracted by the interstate, doesn't it? We have an interstate going through here, so you get a lot more clientele coming to you than probably a community that sets off that's not close to the interstate, right?
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that we're about halfway between Nashville and Knoxville.
Yeah.
And we've got a wonderful little community here that very philanthropic people. Everybody wants to help somebody.
Yeah.
We had a woman drive into our parking lot the other day when I was about 3 days on the job and was just sitting out there giving money away to all of the guests.
Isn't that amazing?
And I went out and talked to her, and I didn't want to dissuade her from doing that, but I told her, I said, we've got a plan here and we've got a program here whereby we don't want to just flood people with money that aren't in a spot where they can utilize that properly.
Kick them back if you're not careful, right?
As many problems as you're helping. I said, but if you'll come in here, we'll sit down and explain to you what we're doing, and then maybe if you want to give a donation, then we can show you how we'll disperse that accordingly.
Right.
And she was very good with that. She looked at me and said, well, I had never thought of that.
We live in a great community that's very helping. We got a lot of great churches. We got a lot of great folks that are willing to help. We've started getting the opioid settlement money put out. We put out about $428,000 last year. That came to the county and put it out to the programs.
So grateful for you.
And thousands of people that y'all were able to help with all these organizations that we gave the money to. That's coming every year for the next several years, fixing to have another batch. I appreciate you sitting on the task force with us to help us decide what we do with that.
I am humbled and grateful.
Well, I wanted to make sure. My goal is that we didn't. You remember when the tobacco settlement money came down? Ask somebody today, where did that money go to?
Nobody can tell
Nobody can remember. I want us to be able to look back and say, these were the lives that we changed. These were the lives that we helped. Here's where that money was a benefit.
Thanks to your hard work and direction, we're going to be able to do that.
Well, it's a team effort, as we say. Well, I am excited about you being the new director of the Rescue Mission. I'm excited for what you're doing, and we're all behind you and support you, and congratulations, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you.
Hey, that's our show for today. Hope you join us every week for Today in Putnam County, right here on all the Zimmer family of radio stations. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and may God continue to bless Putnam County.
You've been listening to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.